D-ROCK with Colorado Music Buzz TV here. It is my great privilege, gotta spit that out, to bring you Bobby Blitz Ellsworth, vocalist of one of the greatest thrash bands of our generation, Overkill. Bobby, thanks for being here. I appreciate it. Good
Pleasure,
to see
my
you.
friend. Yeah, man.
So, how's the tour been? It's been, what, a couple of weeks so far?
Good to be in Colorado, first and foremost.
Awesome.
We're out, this is actually the 8th show, so it's only a week. Okay. But it takes about a week to get into the groove. I heard great things about the first show. I said, boy, we're usually not in the groove the first show, but we were. But we're, you know, the idea of repetition and day after day touring is to turn it into a machine. And that seems to be what's happening at this point.
Full speed, full contact.
Yeah, man.
You know?
I mean, I've lived half my adult life, more than half my adult life on the road, and it's, I think we know how to do it by now.
Yeah,
so.
yeah. So we're going to get the best of Overkill tonight, man. It's going to be a killer show.
I hope so, yeah.
Tell me a little bit about the new album, Electric Age, man. I've been listening to that, throwing it down quite a bit the last week or so. I love it. Beautiful. I've said favorite album since WFO, in my opinion.
Well, you know, I mean, that's a great compliment to say that, because the WFO record was a really good record, in my opinion. You know, and I don't know where the Electric Age sits in the pecking order, but I do know that, you know, there's a great feel with it. It's really power-packed. There's a chemistry that's going on right now in the scene, as well as in the band, and we're exploiting that. You know, and why not?
Yeah.
You know, because this is what we do, and I, you know, I have to tell you, it's still fun and still love of. To do this stuff, performance, records, etc. So the Electric Age came on the scene with, you know, a really good impact. It was promoted great. There was great timing with song leaks like Electric Rattlesnake and Wish You Were Dead.
Great track.
Right, and you know, and then, you know, people are, it pays off when you go out on the road. You know, people like the record and they're saying, hey, you know, this is a great era of Overkill, because it's more than one era. We're really talking 16 records, so we're real happy with it. Again, I don't know where it sits in the pecking order, but I do know that it's something that we're real proud of. Big sound and production, thrash metal the way that we do it in New Jersey.
Perfect, perfect. Yeah, Jersey thrash, man. That's where it's at. Hell with the Bay Area, man. It's about Jersey thrash, man. You got to do something to get out of Jersey and on the key.
Let's just insult Gary Holt. Okay. He's down in South America.
He won't be seeing this for a couple of weeks anyway, so yeah, you'll be out of town well before he can catch up with you.
I gotta tell you, he called one day. I was on a radio station doing an interview, and he put on a Spanish accent and said his name was Jefe, and said that he really loved the new Overkill, but the guitar work on the earlier days was much better, because Dave Linsk looks like a shaved ape. So obviously I'm only busting chops here. Gary and I are very good friends.
Cool, very cool. So, you know, as far as the lyrically on this new album, I wouldn't say it's lighter, but it's almost more optimistic.
I suppose to some degree. I've always been somebody with regard to lyrics that, you know, highlights the darker side of things as to show the contrast to the lighter side of things. But there does seem to be just a straight ahead, powerful feeling about this, and with that power I think comes a certain optimism. You know, we've never been really a down in the mouth kind of a band. I mean, it's not about complaint for us, and I know it appears angry, but we're obviously people who enjoy doing this. But it really even goes to almost mindless rock and roll lyrics like Electric Rattlesnake, and you're poking a little fun at the religious right with the Adam and Eve story, and and it's about ripping your face off at the same time.
There's a little bit of levity in there. It's a little hidden levity.
It has to be sarcasm. I mean, it has to be humor in my life. I mean, that's, you know, I like to laugh. I enjoy people, and I think that to some degree my lyrics reflect that. So
cool, very cool. Question I've always been interested in, wanting to know the answer to is, there was an album a little while ago, Dreaming in Columbia, Spiritual Void. Those were some of my favorite tracks. But the recording seemed really, really raw. There was a rawness to it that wasn't as produced as, you know, Horoscope before that, and, you know, the later albums after that. Was that something intentionally done to try and give it a little more raw feel, a little more edge to that album?
The departure was primarily due to the fact that we always recorded on what was called an SSL. And, you know, this is pre-Pro Tools technology, where you can attain tonality that you want with Pro Tools. But an SSL actually had a sharper sound to it. It was more of a sharper high end. We recorded I Hear Black on what's called a Neve console, which doesn't have a sharper high end, and it has a rounder bottom end. So the production immediately sounds different. We also went from Horoscope with Terry Date, who was really quintessential with regard to what he did with thrash and even bands that follow like Pantera, you know, and the White Zombie stuff. I mean, the guy is just amazing.
The mix on that was beautiful.
We went back to a guy we had used early on named Alex Perialis.
Okay.
And Alex in his own right is a great producer, but you're talking about two different
styles.
Yes, and two different boards. And that's really where a lot of that comes out, is that it's one is softer and rounder, one is harsher and sharper.
Okay, yeah, because it almost sounds, it's got to feel that I'm in the room with you while you're just jamming the album out, as opposed to, you know, all separated and barriers and laying down separate tracks. And
It was a softer
really cool
sounding record though too. It was a softer sound. I Hear Black, in my opinion, is a much softer sounding record with regard to production. And I think, you know, we were early on in our production. We've always taken co-production credits, but as time has gone on, I mean, now the Electric Age, Ironbound, Immortalis, we do these at Dee Dee's studio. We line up the production, and production is about getting great tones. You know, that's really the start of to produce something. Know what it wants to sound like in your head. Don't say, oh, that could be pretty cool. You have to kind of have that vision prior. So you set that up, and then it's really organization. And what we did with the Electric Age and records in the past, we won't mix. We'll send it to somebody for an objective opinion. You know, and in this case, it was a guy named Greg Reilly, who's worked with Fear Factory, Machine Head, but he's also done Sarah McLachlan. He's done Coldplay. So he's, you know, he's one of these guys who hears music, not just this.
Not just thrash or just
and I
top 40.
think he did some hell of a mix on this thing.
It's
We were
beautiful.
organized going in there, but he made it big and bad.
So going in, have you guys always taken that same approach as far as writing and recording? Do you guys do any writing on the road? I mean, are you going to be starting to write for the next album now, or is that something that you do on your time off after you've come off the road?
Well, you know, we each have different jobs, and the song always starts with Dee Dee. I mean, he's really the originator of all Overkill songs post Years of Decay. So from the Horoscope record on, occasionally one will start with a vocal line, but it's really more about his riff. So he constantly collects them. He can't let a riff go by. But those riffs develop into songs from Dee Dee. Then Dave gets involved. I'm hearing it all the way along. And if you liken it to building a house and the riff is the foundation, you know, I'm putting the roof on the house. So I don't do any writing on the road. I do my stuff at home. You know, I lock myself down. I enjoy it. It does become frustrating because you don't want to repeat yourself. I mean, 16 records, you know?
Yeah.
So you got to be motivated to do something that's a little bit different without throwing away what the tradition of it was. So it's a double-edged sword, but I think that we always seem to pull it off. We just push ourselves a little harder each time. So and that's half of the enjoyment of doing this, is pushing yourself. It's motivational.
How long does it usually take you to sit down from riffage to, you know, sending off for mix and whatnot? I mean, is this like, oh, we got to get this done in 9 months, or we're just going to take our time with it and make this baby the best baby we've had so far?
If the record's 56 minutes long, it usually takes me an hour and a half to write the lyrics.
And that's after spell check?
But the melody lines, it takes me about 9 months. It's this record. This was 8 months from assembly to delivery, and I think one of the unique aspects of it was, or one of the differences this time, was that we got off the road. We were all prepared. We demoed. Then we got drum tracks together. Then we hit the road again. So we have good drum tracks in the can with great tones. Then we're back in the studio and they're adding bass guitars with great tones. Then we hit the road. And then the guitars come. We hit the road. We do a South American tour. Then the vocals come. And I think what it did, because we didn't need 8 months, but it brought the live performance into the studio. Because I'm doing vocals in the studio. My last experience with Overkill was in Santiago, Chile, and Sao Paulo, Brazil, and in Argentina, and then. So now I'm feeling it.
You're ready to go.
I'm ready to fly. Yeah, I'm ready. I'm cooked. Just let me out of the fucking cage.
You guys are all warmed up, ready to tear some stuff up.
So I think it really worked for us, and I don't know if it worked for every band or younger bands, but for us, I thought it was one of the X factor on this record for giving it that little bit more of a powerful live type feel.
Great. When you guys, with your set tonight, what are we expecting? 50-50 with the new record and some old Overkill? And and whatnot, back catalog stuff?
Well, I mean, there's classics that I think people expect, and and we're not numb to that. I mean, we've been doing this a very long time. Just take out Elimination and Rotten to the Core. You play those songs, and we have 4 classics. Then we have 6 relatively new songs, 4 from the Electric Age, a couple from Ironbound, and the rest are sliders. We slide them in and out per tour. So we'll take something from WFO, we'll take something from the Horoscope record, we'll take something from here, and we'll always try to do a few that are just obscure kind of tunes that you wouldn't have expected to hear.
Like Spiritual Void, hint, hint?
No, that's not the one. But there's something in there that you'll like, I'm sure.
Great. Well, yeah, but I love the set front to back, man.
It's a blend.
Cool, very cool. When you do that, what's the crowd reception? I mean, are you seeing that the crowd would rather hear some of the old stuff? Are they really receptive to the new Overkill, especially stuff from the Electric Age? Is that something that is conscious to you when you're playing this live? Seeing the response from the new stuff to the old stuff.
Well, as I said earlier, I think there's a great health in the scene right now, and I think that people are all over the new music. Not just ours. I mean, just even other bands in the scene that they're really on top of it. I mean, technology was always that double-edged sword because it lent itself to the free download, but then the other side of it is it's instantaneous promotion, and the people that support this, and that's a great thing. It can't be done without support.
Yeah.
And that's a great community feel about it. So I think that what I've seen over the last couple of records is people are prepared to hear that new stuff. And, that's, hey, man, I want to hear, sure, I want some of those classics rammed down my throat, but the other side of it is I want to hear some of that new stuff, too, because I get to experience this the first time, for instance, in Denver. I was talking to a cat yesterday, and I was on the phone from Philly, and he goes, man, you guys broke an electric rattlesnake. Man, it was fantastic. It was like you were playing it for 10 years. You were so tight on it. And I thought to myself, and I said to him, dude, that was the first time it was ever performed live.
No. Okay, perfect. Yeah, we got an interrupted camera glitch here, but we were just talking about how Electric Rattlesnake was first time played live, but you guys,
in Philly,
yeah, in Philly, you guys popped it out like you've been playing it forever.
Well, we were ready to play it, obviously. I mean, that's not the point, but that was the first live performance of it. So, I mean, I guess this guy actually got to see something that was very unique because he's really embedded into the thrash scene, and he was saying, "Wow, that was just great." And I'm thinking to myself, man, I did Rotten to the Core 4,000 times, and he's probably seen 200 of them. But this is the first time Electric Rattlesnake was ever performed, and this guy got to see it. My point is I think people are ready to see the new stuff.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. It's got to make you feel that your last 9 months of all this has been, productive.
Hey, man, and we like the new stuff. I mean, the new stuff for us is always the fun stuff to play because it's not the stuff that just rolls off. I mean, I hear Rotten to the Core in my sleep sometimes, and my wife's like, would you stop the scream? Go back to bed.
Dreaming about playing it on stage. Yeah, that's classic,
She said to me, my girlfriend's always told me that hooking up with you could be the worst thing for having nice sleepless nights.
That is classic. So, Old School. Fairly new song. It's been out for what? We're now looking 4 years? Has it been 4 years?
I think it's probably 6.
Six since it's been released. That's become almost a new Overkill anthem as opposed to Welcome to the Gutter. Hello from the Gutter, I should say.
Yeah.
It's got that upbeat feel. It's got that I'm here, I'm in your face, and fuck you.
Yeah.
I mean, has the crowd, still likened to that song? When you guys play that live, is that one that you see the crowd singing to?
It's magnetic. That tune is. I mean, that's a no-brainer. I mean, even if you're like, oh God, please don't play it again, you're still the guy smiling in the front row. Horns up, finger up, the whole bit. But I think it's a great song for us that shows where we come from. I mean, we were always metalheads. I mean, and we were first and foremost metalheads. I mean, whether it be the new wave of British heavy metal, whether it be that wave with Priest in it, and whether it be even earlier stuff that people argue whether it's metal or heavy blues, like with Sabbath.
Sabbath, Zap.
And we loved all that stuff.
Yep.
But we were also punkers. I mean, we were. I mean, I was stupid enough to put a safety pin through my cheek at one time. And go Ramones spotting down in St. Mark's Place in New York. You put on your MC jacket and your ripped jeans and your high top cons, and you go look for one of the Ramones. That's what you would do. Get a beer, and go look for them. And that was, I think, where Old School had to show itself with our songwriting, because we always had that kind of an energy. but now it showed itself more so in a song. Sure, it's still a metal song, but it's definitely got a punky edge to it.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now, was that something when you wrote this song? Was that the complete intention? Yeah, this is going to be on the album, or let's have fun with one and just see what comes of it, and it just kind of turned into the beast that it is now.
You know, this was one of the ones we didn't work on all together, and what had happened was Dee Dee had sent it, and Dave's not cut from that, but Dee Dee and I are. And Dee Dee sent me it, and I listened to it, and I laughed my ass off when I first heard this song. And when I started scratching out lyrics, and I was putting names of people I knew in there, and guys that managed us and ran clubs, and Ed Trunk from That Metal Show has been a friend of ours since, you know, even before either of us had really careers, you know, that kind of a thing. That I was just having such a good time that Dee Dee and I laughed our asses off saying, and we laughed so hard, hung up the phone, and 10 minutes later I called him back and goes, "This is going on the record."
So then it was one you're just kind of like,
had a lot of fun.
What the hell is this? But this is awesome. We've got to put it on.
It had that whole beer hole vibe to it.
You know, almost, you know, yeah, exactly. You know, the punk, you know, Irish, you know, the metal Irish.
Murphy's Law meets Overkill.
Yep. Humphreys McGee kind of thing going to it.
It's cool.
So, last question for you. Where do you see Overkill in the next 5-6 years? I mean, are you still guys going to be tearing it up, touring it, you know, pumping out an album every year and a half, every 2 years? You guys plan on taking some time, or?
My heart just skipped a beat. I mean, it's like, I've always been one of those immediate guys. You know, I've never looked into the future. And I think to some degree that's why there's longevity here. That I never take anything for granted. I never say this is my plan. I plan things at home, my personal life, obviously. But when it comes to Overkill, I've always lived and performed day to day. Now, you obviously have to plan tours and things as such, but the reality is that I don't know. And as long as I can do this at a high level, as long as I can compete, I'll do this. And I think Dee Dee feels the same way. He's a little bit more long-sighted than I am. But I think that probably the mesh of those two personalities together, you got Mr. Immediate and you got Mr. Planning, that it actually works out pretty well with regard to where we go. But I've kind of enjoyed the journey up to this point, so I never jinx it with what I'm going to be doing.
Okay.
Never jinx it.
Fair enough. Fair enough. D-ROCK with CMBTV here. My gracious host, Bobby Blitz, lead singer of Overkill. It's been a pleasure. Thank you for taking time out of your day, sitting down with us. Yes, exactly. There you go. It's a big fuck you. We are here live at the Bluebird Theater. It is April 27th. Get down here. Check these guys out. And I hope it's less than 2 years from now, the next time you guys get back into town. I'm already missing you guys. You guys haven't even gone on yet. So it's been a pleasure, man. Thank you. Thank you. You guys take care. D-ROCK out. Lates, fuckers.